Hello, this is Natsuko. I'm a regular office worker in Tokyo. I went hiking yesterday and my body is still sore, so today I decided to stay home and take it easy. I filmed a completely ordinary day, so nothing dramatic happened. But I hope you enjoy it anyway. Since it's sunny today, I'm going to wash my bed sheets and blanket. How often do you all wash your sheets? For me, it's about once a week, but if I've been sweating a lot, sometimes I wash them 2 or 3 times a week. The other day, while scrolling through X, I came across a story about a new couple. The boyfriend said, "I'm the type who wants to wash the sheets every day." And the girlfriend replied, "That's fine, but don't push yourself." The guy was totally shocked because he had assumed she'd be the one washing them. I guess there are still some guys who think that way. Of course, it depends on the person. But since my job is mostly remote, the guys around me usually do a lot of housework and childcare. Well, of course, I'd have to ask their partners to know the real story. Still, I think it's great that in Japan, the old idea that housework and childcare are women's jobs is starting to fade. It's been a while since people started talking about women's participation in the workforce here. I went to a women's university that focused on gender education, so for me, women taking leadership roles feels very natural. At work, even though men are the majority, the women I've met have all been incredibly capable. Even the male executives say, "There are so many talented women," so I've never once thought women were less competent than men. But recently, while chatting with some young male colleagues, they complimented my work, but also started saying that other young female coworkers weren't pulling their weight. I don't know how true that is, since I haven't worked directly with those women. Still, it made me think. The women I've encountered were the ones who survived in a male-dominated environment, so maybe before that selection, there are women who really do see work as just a temporary stop before marriage. Back in my grandmother's and even my mother's generation, many women would quit their jobs once they got married. Because of that, a lot of people thought of work as just something temporary for women. That might be why society still has this stereotype that women aren't as serious about work as men. For someone like me who really wants to work hard, that stereotype can be frustrating. But honestly, I just hope we can live in a world where people who devote themselves to their families and people who devote themselves to their work are both accepted without being judged. Changing the subject a little. My company doesn't have many female executives, so there's actually a program that encourages women to step up into leadership roles, whereas there's no such program for men. While I was listening to a female executive explain it, we both agreed, in the end, it would be best if promotions were based on ability, whether the person is a man or a woman. I've heard that in Northern Europe, when women had very little presence in politics and all the parliament members were men, they introduced a rule requiring at least 20% of seats to be held by women. After about 10 years, when they removed the rule, women's participation stayed high. At least that's what I heard. Sorry if I got the details wrong. So I can understand why Japanese companies and the government want to start with a quota, like requiring 20 to 30% of positions to be filled by women, regardless of ability at first. But I also wonder if conflicts might arise when capable men are passed over during that time. One female executive at my company once said, "It's not just about liberating women, it's about liberating men too." And I agree. But for men to truly have the option of becoming stay-at-home dads, women need to advance in society and support the household financially. That's why I feel women's advancement has to come first. If you think about it practically, women go through pregnancy, childbirth, and childcare, which makes it difficult to work as much during those years. If you don't want to lower your standard of living during that time, it feels natural to want to marry someone who earns more. On the flip side, for a woman to want a stay-at-home husband, she probably has to be even more successful than today's elite men. What do you think? Would you be okay with a husband who's a full-time homemaker? By the way, the tea I'm making right now is Thai tea. During the holidays in May this year, I went to Thailand for the first time. Since Thailand is relatively close to Japan, I always thought I can go anytime, even when I'm older. So I kept putting it off. But since my mom was able to take some time off, we decided to go together and make it a special memory. When I travel, I usually don't make much of a plan. I like to just go with the flow and spend my time however I feel in the moment. But my mom is the complete opposite. She plans everything out. Which type are you guys? A planner or a go-with-the-flow traveler? One of my mom's plans was to try Thai tea at Chatoramu. Honestly, I don't really like sweet drinks, so I wasn't expecting much. But when I tried it, it was unbelievably delicious. I stayed for 8 days and I think I drank it almost every single day. I liked it so much that I bought 2 kinds of tea leaves, the red can and the gold can. The red one is the Thai tea mix and the gold one is extra gold. But to be honest, I can't really tell the difference in taste. If anyone knows, please tell me. The proper way is to pour the tea over lots of ice, then add milk and sugar. But the tea itself has such a sweet aroma that I usually just drink it plain, without much sugar or milk. I really enjoyed drinking a lot, until one day I happened to read that the beautiful orange color of Thai tea actually comes from a synthetic dye called Sunset Yellow FCF. And apparently, if you consume too much of it, there might be an increased risk of cancer. That freaked me out a little, so I've been cutting back on how often I drink it. In my very first video, I mentioned that I had just started hiking. Since then, I've been going hiking every single week. Every weekend, I climb Mount Takao. And just this past Tuesday, I went to Mount Kimpu in Yamanashi, which is about 2,600 meters high. Since the trailhead already starts at around 2,000 meters, the total elevation gain wasn't much different from my usual hikes. But because I had also climbed Mount Takao just 3 days before, my legs were completely dead. On the way back, I went to an onsen. They had an outdoor bath with a perfect view of Mount Fuji right in front of me. It was amazing. There's something about Mount Fuji. It's so symmetrical, so wide, and just looking at it feels really comforting. Other than Fuji, I think the one mountain I'd really love to see once in my lifetime is the Matterhorn in Switzerland. Speaking of hot springs, here's a question. In your opinion, up to what age do you think little boys are allowed in the women's bath? In Japan, until a few years ago, the rule was up to 10 years old. But recently the law changed and now it's only up to 6 years old. Personally, to be honest, I started feeling a bit uncomfortable around age 3. At the Kimpu Onsen, there were 2 little boys in the women's bath. While I was changing, they were staring at me, and I really didn't like it. But from the parents' perspective, I guess they can't just leave their kids alone while they bathe. But still, honestly, I feel little boys should go to the men's bath and the little girls should go to the women's bath. What feels unfair the most is that many mothers don't want to take the risk of crying, so they usually won't let their daughters enter the men's bath with their fathers. Because of that, the women's bath often has kids running around and making noise. Meanwhile, the men's bath is usually full of only adults, quiet and spacious. I can't help but think, that must be nice. I really wish there was some kind of social system to ease this hidden burden that often falls on women. By the way, I suddenly started baking cookies. A little while ago, I bought some white chocolate. At that time, I was really in the mood for it, but after a while, I didn't feel like eating it anymore. White chocolate is basically just the fat from cocoa, right? Since it doesn't have the real chocolate part of the cacao, it doesn't work as a substitute when I actually want chocolate. So I gave up on eating it as it is and decided to turn it into white chocolate cookies instead. Cookies are such a simple recipe, aren't they? In Japan, on Valentine's Day, it's common for women to give handmade chocolate sweets to someone they like. So on those occasions, I sometimes make something a little fancy. But honestly, I often find that the simpler, less time-consuming recipes actually taste better. I guess it's because the ingredients themselves are already delicious. What about you guys? What do you usually do for Valentine's Day? I've heard that in the West, men usually give flowers. Do you actually receive them? Cooking is really fun, isn't it? Of course, sometimes it feels like a hassle, but once I start, I can really focus and it actually calms my mind. And then when the food is ready, there's the joy of eating something delicious that you made yourself. Yesterday, I suddenly thought life is short, and I ended up making a bucket list of things I want to do before I die. One of the things I wrote was live in a house with a big kitchen, with a dishwasher, of course. Back when I was a student, one of my close friends was from a wealthy family. Their house had a really rare kitchen for Japan, an island-style kitchen. The ventilation hood was so huge, it covered entire island counter. I remember being totally shocked, like, isn't this professional-grade equipment? But having a large workspace like that would make it so much easier to bake bread and cakes. I was totally jealous. Dishwashers exist in Japan, of course. Even if they are not built in, you can add a small one later. But the ones I used in Germany or New Zealand were huge, easily twice or 3 times the size of the ones in Japan. In Japan, it's common to hand wash things like frying pans and mixing bowls, and just put dishes and cutlery into the dishwasher. But that still means there's washing left to do, right? In Germany, you could just throw everything into the dishwasher, press start, and that was it. It was amazing. I really enjoy cooking, but I don't like washing dishes that much. So honestly, I want the machine to do it for me. And it also saves water. As for the rest of my bucket list, it's mostly travel related. Things like riding a scenic train through the mountains in Switzerland, being amazed by the beautiful streets in Croatia, vacationing in Sri Lanka, playing with elephants, having a dog or cat in my old age, enjoying nature in New Zealand, or visiting Palawan Island in the Philippines. Even though I sometimes feel like I've already had enough of traveling abroad, making this list made me realize I should probably go while I'm still young. How about you guys? Have you ever been to Japan? I've heard the most popular destinations are Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, Fukuoka, Hokkaido, and Okinawa. But of course, Japan has way more countryside than big cities, and I think that's where you can really feel the real Japan. So I definitely recommend visiting some of the lesser known prefectures too. To brag a little about my hometown, I was born and raised in Kagawa, on the island of Shikoku. Kagawa is easy to picture. The north faces the sea, the south is mountains, and in between is a wide plain. The sea is the Seto Inland Sea, which is calm and doesn't generate tsunamis even if an earthquake happens. Earthquakes are scary, but at least there is that sense of safety. If you go into the mountains, you can still see fireflies at night. It's that rich in nature. The population has been declining, so my kindergarten and elementary school doesn't exist anymore, but it's a very peaceful town. Kagawa also has lots of beautiful islands, and every 3 years they host the Setouchi Triennale, an international art festival. Famous artists from around the world come and exhibit their work across different islands. During the festival, you can take ferries from island to island, experiencing all kinds of art and nature. It's amazing. Even outside the festival season, there are unique museums like Teshima Art Museum and Chichu Art Museum that are really worth visiting. And of course, Kagawa is famous for udon noodles. They are absolutely delicious. I'll be going back home for New Year's, so I hope I can share more highlights of my hometown with you then. Please look forward to it. Since I had work starting at 7 p.m. that night, I decided to eat an early dinner around 5 p.m. On weekdays, I work a regular IT job, but on weekends, I also do a little side work. I had some minced tuna in the fridge, so today's dinner is a tuna rice bowl. All I have to do is scoop some rice into a bowl, sprinkle shredded seaweed on top, and then add the tuna. Sometimes I also add a layer of bonito flakes under the seaweed. Right before eating, I pour over some sashimi soy sauce mixed with wasabi, and it's done. Seafood bowls are so easy, so I make them often when I'm busy. On the side, I made stir-fried green peppers with eggs. Just the seafood bowl alone would be unbalanced, so I decided to use up the last peppers I had left in the fridge. By the weekend, my fridge is always almost empty. The recipe is really simple. Beat some eggs with a little salt, fry them the way you like, and set them aside. Then slice the green peppers, stir-fry them quickly, add the eggs back in, and season with 1 teaspoon of soy sauce and 1 teaspoon of oyster sauce. That's it. It's super easy and the flavor goes perfectly with rice. I often make this dish when there's hardly anything left in my fridge. After finishing dinner, I quickly washed the dishes and got ready for my 7 p.m. job. I work as an English tutor for high school students. My lessons end at 10 p.m. and since I also have work the next day, I like to take a bath beforehand so I can go straight to bed afterward. I really enjoy taking bath, but what I don't enjoy is how long it takes to dry my hair afterward. My natural hair is straight, of course, but I put in light wave perm. So I use a hair treatment that helps keep the curls in place. I actually love watching hair routine videos of girls with super curly hair. When I see their curls being set perfectly, it's so satisfying to watch. I don't even know why. It just makes me happy even though I'm only watching. My cousin is half Ghanaian and half Japanese, and maybe it's because of the hair products she uses, but she always smells amazing, like coconut. Thanks to her, I've also fallen in love with coconut-scented hair products, but they are rarely hard to find in Japan. So whenever I travel abroad, I stock up on as many coconut-scented products as I can. Alright, it's almost time for me to start work, so I'll get going now. I had so much fun today. See you again in the next video. And if you enjoyed this one, please don't forget to like, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel. Bye for now!